morning on this beautiful day. Okay. Welcome home. There is in this place the possibility of healing, of repair, of making things right within ourselves, between us, and the wider world. We gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so.
Welcome to Wedgwood on this beautiful Sunday Easter morning. It definitely looks like spring is here. We hope it's here to stay. But we are thrilled that you are here. Paula, we're glad to have you with us today. And others who are listening to live streaming, we are glad that you are here with us. And if you're listening later in the day or later in the week, that's great. We're glad you chose to spend some time with Wedgwood. We're thrilled that you are here today. Our prelude this morning, I think you're going to enjoy. It's the music in the background is a song called Jerusalem. It's a Zulu word that translates to Jerusalem in English. However, the song goes beyond a literal reference to the ancient city. In its essence, Jerusalem represents a metaphorical place of sanctuary, a spiritual home where everyone can feel protected and at peace. It serves as an anthem of hope and faith, urging listeners to keep moving forward despite all of life's challenges. It encourages us to believe in the unseen and trust in a higher power, finding solace in our journey. It has become a celebration of unity and joy, of diversity, encouraging people to embrace and appreciate different cultures and traditions. And the words are, Jerusalem, my home, protect me, walk with me, do not leave me alone. And this particular version and record was done during an Easter during COVID, when people could not get out and celebrate as much. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Aren't they great? They just make you happy. They just make you happy. And now Liz has some announcements for us.
Yes, thank you, Melba. We have just a few announcements of upcoming events on this glorious Easter morning. Next Sunday, April 7th, we will not have a service. Instead, we will meet right back here on Zoom and use the same Sunday services Zoom link. We're going to have our next strategic planning session. This will include Cameron Pruitt will be back to help facilitate. We're in such an exciting time in the life of Wedgwood, and we're going to be covering a lot of ground. So please join us. And then the following Sunday, April 14th, again, we will not have a service because we have a service day. We will be out in the community with Current Initiative doing their laundry project, where we go to a laundromat and help provide free laundry services to everyone who comes that day. It's going to be a wonderful day. And as we're still waiting on the location, I believe they're firming that up, but the day and the time is secure. There's more information on, I believe, our website as well as our newsletter, but it should be a very exciting day. And then on Sunday, April 21st, our service will be with Mitch Bolag from Jewish Voices for Peace. He will be sharing a message. And then the following Sunday, April 28th, Jennifer Roberts will be sharing an Earth Day message for us. Our next Social Justice Book Club meeting will be Thursday, April 11th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. We are reading The 100 Years' War on Palestine, and we ask that you read through page 152. Melba, do you want to say a few words on this?
Yes, social justice is the focus of Wedgwood Church. We believe in not just talking, but in acting. As Liz mentioned, the laundry project, and you'll see in a moment, we have a lot of other things coming up that we like to do in the community to try to put into action what we profess and what we believe. If you'll go to the next slide, there's a couple things coming up. One that several people have shown interest in, April the 4th on Zoom. You can watch from home with our own police chief and the police chief from Washington, D.C. and Dr. Rodney Sadler. If you know him, he's just an amazing minister in town, are doing a program on policing in black and blue. And policing is something we have talked a good bit about. So that may be a very interesting Zoom to be attuned to and listen to. And then if anyone's interested, there's a Christians March for Free Palestine in DC. I have all the information on that if anyone's interested in going. And then in the planning on April 28th, Jewish Voices for Peace they're planning a Liberation Seder. They're looking for a location. And they've reached out to us and invited us to certainly join them for that event. So more information is forthcoming on that. I don't believe we have on here our financial meeting, which is on this April 17th, I believe. So there's information about that in the newsletter. So be sure and note that, because that's in the evening, and it will give us an update on where we stand financially.
Thank you, Melba. So as we said, we're having a Wedgwood Service Day on April 14th. If you are interested in volunteering that day, let us know. There is a very brief form that you have to fill out, just with some information for current initiatives. So if you're interested in volunteering, let us know. That form is also available on our website and in our newsletter. And we're not going to have a service that day because we'll be out in the community, but we will have lunch afterwards.
Yes.
And feel free to invite people. We need at least 7 volunteers to come out that day. And so I think we need like a couple more folks, but it's just going to be a wonderful day. So if you have friends, family, bring them all out. It's going to be a fun day. And then on Sunday, May 5th at 11 a.m., we have our homecoming. Instead of having a service, we're going to have a meal together and get back in person at La Autentica. And it's actually Cinco de Mayo, coincidentally. So we're going to have some delicious Mexican food, have some fellowship together, and support a really wonderful local business. So if you're interested in coming, please let us know, because we want to have enough tables reserved and enough seats reserved. So let us know if you're coming so we can make sure to have room for you. And our Wedgwood Social Justice Film Festival is going to be on Sunday, June 9th at the Independent Picture House. I've been doing some groundwork for that, but if you're interested in joining that volunteer team, that planning committee, let me know, because I'm going to send out an email in the next day or two for our first meeting, because I'm getting different films together, and I need folks to help me screen them and pick our lineup. And we've got a good number of folks on the committee, but it's going to be a really great film festival, hopefully the first of many. There's not a whole lot of lift to do for a film festival, believe it or not. But if you're interested in participating in some way, let us know, and I'd love to have you. And membership. So this is a very exciting time in the life of Wedgwood. We have a lot of things going on. We always say we may be small, but we are mighty. And everybody has a mighty voice, and you have a mighty voice too. And we want your voice to be heard. And the best way to do that, as we go through this period of Wedgwood, is to become a member, because that's the only way that you can get a vote with the things that we're voting on. So if you're interested in becoming a member, just message one of us in the chat or just email the church and we will send you that form. It's a very, very brief form, and that's all there is to it. It's very easy, but we'd love to have you. And connect with us. We are on Instagram. We have two things on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, which a lot of folks are in, but we also have a Facebook page. And this is relatively new, but it's really important that you like and follow our Facebook page as well. Because that's the page that's our business page, and that's how we do a lot of our marketing. But we have to reach a certain number of followers in order to do some of the things we need to do. So please make sure you like and follow our Facebook page, and encourage all your friends and family to do so. That would be a huge, huge help. And you can also visit our website. We keep that up to date. Our newsletter goes out every single week, and that our newsletter is much more thorough than what we share on our announcements. We try to keep it short and sweet. But if you feel like you've missed anything, it's probably in our newsletter. So make sure you check that out. We only send it out once a week. But it's a really important thing to check out and a really great way to stay informed. You can also email us or call us. There's a lot of different ways to connect with Wedgwood. And Wedgwood has 4 part-time staff here to help. Melba is the ministerial coordinator. I'm the community outreach coordinator. Ashanti is our music coordinator, and Ryan is our technology coordinator. And as we go through all these transitions at Wedgwood, we ask for your financial support as you feel so moved. And there's a lot of different ways to do so. You can mail a donation to our P.O. box. You can also scan the QR code that will take you to our donation page on our website, and you can donate through Venmo. You can give through PayPal. You can give through Zelle, and we, really appreciate any donations to our general fund. I also forgot to mention that if you're not able to come to the laundry day service day, but you still want to support in some way, because you can donate to Wedgwood and just put in the line that it's for the laundry project specifically, because we're sponsoring that. So if you want to help, pay for that, that would be wonderful. I believe you can also, Melba has generously offered her home as a drop-off point if you want to bring laundry detergent, fabric softener, dryer sheets, all that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different ways to give, and we appreciate any of the ways that you choose. Thank you very much.
And now Thomas will lead us in our extravagant welcome.
We are all welcome here. Welcome to a church that works for peace, quality, and the care of Mother Earth.
We are all welcome here.
An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy.
We are all welcome here.
We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers, striving to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other spiritual leaders.
We are all welcome here.
Like Jesus, we focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day.
We are all welcome here.
One of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story.
We are all welcome here. Yes, indeed. We are all welcome at Wedgwood every Sunday morning. And we come to a time now of celebrations and concerns. Laura can give us a little update on her family, but we still want to lift them up because this is still a time of trial and a difficult time.
Well, prayers for the people that were on the bridge and that fell into the water, and and that disaster there, and the people are still on the boat. They can't get off the boat, and that was pretty unreal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful for the beautiful weather and the sunshine. I'm thankful to be here another year celebrating Easter and being here in Wedgwood.
Yeah, I have a celebration. So my mother is currently in South Korea. She works for the Department of Defense and gets to do some fun traveling. And I actually lived in South Korea. I came back about 11 years ago. and her father, my grandfather, was in the army and served in Korea. So it's just been really cool to have three generations of my family spending time in Korea. I lived in Korea for about 3 years, and it was a very special time in my life. And I'm so happy that my mom's flight was uneventful
Oh,
and she landed safely. It's a very long flight. It's
Yes.
about a 24-hour trip. It's
Ooh.
very, very long. And so I was so relieved when I saw her message that she landed safely.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
That's the celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want us to certainly remember the situation in Palestine, um, all that's going on there in the Middle East, and please remember the leaders of our nation, that they come to the right decisions on what we as a nation need to do. Just that whole situation is very disturbing to me. We have an election year coming up, and it's a very important year, so we also want to remember that, and hopefully we all get out and work to get people out to vote. Others.
A strange one. Uh, Vlad Putin stopped trying to blame the Ukrainians for the tragedy in Moscow. And instead, he's putting the blame on probably who it belongs to.
I had not heard that. Anything else? All right, in the spirit of Wedgwood, we'll have a moment of silence. If you believe in prayer, please use this time in prayer for the things that we've mentioned today and the things that may be silently in people's hearts. Or you may use it as a time of meditation, just a time of self-reflection on how we can all be better humans on this earth and make it a better place. Or maybe it's been a rough week and you just want to shake last week off and focus on the upcoming week. So however you want to use this time of silence, according to your own personal beliefs. Amen. Our time of wisdom today comes from the Song of Solomon, chapter 2, 11 through 13. See, the winter is past, the rains are over and gone. Flowers appear on the earth. The season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our land. The fig tree forms its earthly fruit. The blossoming vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come, come with me. And this morning for our message, we will be listening to Dr. Reverend Munther Isaac. I don't know if any of you listened to the live service from Bethlehem yesterday, but I cried. It was the most emotional service I think I've ever attended. Thousands of people from all over the world listening to him directly live from Bethlehem. Moments of silence together, prayer together. It was just so emotional for me. So today we're going to hear his last year's Easter message. He's a Palestinian Christian pastor and theologian. He pastors the Evangelical Lutheran Christmas Church in Bethlehem and the Lutheran Church in Beit Sahor. He is also the academic dean of Bethlehem Bible College and the director of the highly acclaimed and influential Christ at the Checkpoint Conference. Munther is passionate about issues related to the Palestinian theology. He's published numerous articles and is the author of The Other Side of the Wall and From Land to Land, From Eden to the Renewed Earth. An Introduction to Palestinian Theology in Arabic, a commentary on the Book of Daniel in Arabic, and more recently published a book on women's ordination in the church, also in Arabic. He attained a master's in biblical studies from Westminster Theological Seminary and a PhD from the Oxford Center for Mission Studies. He's married to his wife is an architect, and together they have 2 boys, 11 and 9. They are still living in Bethlehem, and he is still ministering to people there and attempting to continue with services. They fear, though, that since they are on the West Bank, that West Bank may be the next place to be hit. So they have great concerns about that. So let's hear his words for us today.
Peter, and I guess I should say good morning or good afternoon for most of you. It is good to join in another UCC event, even if virtually, and I feel we're becoming more and more familiar. And I'm grateful for this invitation. Palestine is a unique place in that we celebrate Easter twice, Christmas even 3 times. So we have a long time to think of the meaning of Easter because of, the different church calendars. In our church, we celebrated Easter, but our Orthodox siblings celebrate Easter this Sunday and are now in the midst of the Holy Week. And of course, this is a very special time for our community, a time of reflection. It's a time when services are held on a daily basis, almost in all traditions, to reflect on the meaning of not just the death and resurrection of Christ, but the whole week, the last week of Christ. And when I was asked to speak about the meaning of, or how we as Palestinian Christians understand and live Easter, I thought of why not, share of some of the things I preach about during this week. So I will try to give a summary of the main themes or topics that we highlighted in our church, or that I highlight in our preaching, and that we all live as a community in Bethlehem and Jerusalem. And I'm looking forward to a good conversation after we finish. To me, when I read the story of Jesus, especially in the last week, first I see in that week an intense encounter, even clash between Jesus and the empire. And that's my first theme. Jesus and the empire. And this begins with the first day, Palm Sunday, where Jesus enters Jerusalem as a king, but clearly in a way that challenges the way of empires. He enters as a king in humility, in meekness. I feel he's sending a message or offering a different way of kingship, a different kingdom that is there to rival and challenge and provide an alternative to the kingdom or to the empire of Caesar and his followers. So up in front, Jesus is going on this big demonstration, if you wish, but he's already making a statement when he enters Jerusalem. And in this whole week, we see Jesus again offering a different kind of leadership, of ruling, of kingship. We see him washing the feet. We see him as the servant king. And if you read that particular passage in John 13, when Jesus washes the feet, in the introduction in that gospel, John sets the story of Jesus washing the feet when he says, Jesus, knowing that all things have been given to him from the Father. In other words, Jesus knowing really well that he's now king over everything. He goes and washes the feet, as if to set an example of this is what not just leadership, but kingship is all about. And again, this is a radical difference from the way of empires. Here we have a king who serves his people, not the other way around. I always give this example. In the Middle East, we have regular chants of people with our blood and soul, we are willing to die for our king. Jesus is saying the exact opposite. I don't want people to die for my nizam, for my system, for my political structure. I am a king that is going to die and sacrifice and give himself for the people. And then even in the last week, he encounters Caesar's empire when he says, give to Caesar what is to Caesar, which I understand not nearly, as a spiritual separation, but more of give to Caesar what he deserves. And he sets that his kingdom is different from that of the world clearly in his trial, when he declares that his kingdom is not of this world. So that's the first focus to us, in that Jesus is rivaling the empires through offering a different way of kingship, a different kingdom, an alternative kingdom that he models through his life. The second encounter I see in the last week is with what I call the religious institution. And it's clear that Jesus is there to, the whole week is like this intense clash with the religious institution and what it symbolizes. Begins again with Palm Sunday, when I think the Pharisees were upset and they tell him, ask your disciples to be quiet. And he says, no, even if they are quiet, the stones will cry out, which is loaded with symbolism. Yet he goes to Jerusalem, and the first thing he does, we read about, is that he's weeping over Jerusalem. It's one of the most powerful stories to me in all of Scripture. Jesus weeping over the cities that's supposed to embody the presence of God, the city that's supposed to introduce the characters of God to the rest of the world. Yet here we have Jesus entering that city and weeping over the people of Jerusalem, weeping for the fact that Jerusalem did not understand that this is the time of its peace. I always say when I look at this text, I say, let's imagine if Jesus enters Jerusalem today. I think there will be a similar demonstration. And I think that Christians, Jews, and Muslims alike will line up in the streets of Jerusalem welcoming him. First of all, we hope he gets a permission to enter Jerusalem from the Israeli authorities. But as he enters in, I can imagine everybody trying to claim Jesus as their own and saying, save us, save us. And I can still imagine Jesus weeping over Jerusalem because of its sectarianism, its division, its so much hostility and division in that city even today. And so we see Jesus not just weeping over Jerusalem, clashing with the religious leaders, clashing over meanings of a true religion, what is pure and what is impure. And of course, we see him cleansing the temple and declaring that, my house is a house of prayer for all peoples, but you have made it, I think, a den of thieves. And we ask why? Why would Jesus make this? Interestingly, first, he looked how they turned the religious feast of Passover into an opportunity for trade and gain and selling animals and changing money, where religion becomes a source of income for certain people who benefit from that. And then we also know how there was separation between Jews and Gentiles. Even Gentiles who travel a long distance to come to pray in Jerusalem were not allowed to enter past a certain wall, a wall that's mentioned, we believe, in Ephesians 2. So Jesus challenges both the idea of religion separating people into pure and impure. He's one of us, he's not one of us, he's a good man, he's not a good man, he's, this division mentality. And Jesus challenging the concept of the religious institution benefiting for its own gain from religion. Again, the whole week is just a clash between Jesus and the religious institution. And why was he killed in the end? Why did they crucify him? Because they thought of him as an infidel, heresy. That was, when he was put under trial. And so, interestingly, we look at Jesus entering Jerusalem, clashing and strong encounters with the empire and the religious institution. And then we ask, who crucified Jesus? Well, they both joined forces. They both collaborated to the extent that the Jewish leaders, the religious leaders, were even willing to say, we have no king but Caesar. Because now, when we have the same mission, one uses the other. They know that they rely on one another for their survival, religion and politics, and they come together to crucify Jesus. And this brings us to Good Friday, which is, an event that is probably the most attended church service all across the Holy Land is on Good Friday in all traditions, because there's so much meaning in it. The idea of not just the suffering of Jesus, but to me the solidarity in which the whole mystery to me is that in Good Friday, God becomes the victim of both the empire and religious extremism, which ironically are still today two of our biggest problems in the Middle East. Religious extremism and the empire. And again, this is to me the mystery that God looks at this and decides to enter into our broken world to the extent that he chooses to become a victim of both religious extremism and empire. To me, this is the mystery of Easter. The idea of who crucified Jesus and why. And in the midst of this difficult experience, we see Jesus crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's similar to a cry that is often heard today in our land, where are you, God? As I said last week, I feel that this cry, my God, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's a cry that still echoes even today, 2,000 years later. It's a cry that hasn't left our land, sadly, where there is so much religiosity in our land. It has always been a religious place. But I feel that it continues to be a place in search of God, or a place that feels that, where is God? Because we're fighting all the time. There's so much death, there's so much pain, there is so much suffering, and there's always the question, where are you, God? It's interesting, I write all my sermons every time, and I go through them just to look at what I spoke about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And every time my sermons begin, Palestine is going through very difficult times this Good Friday. And it seems that these things don't change. Maybe they think sometimes they get worse. Peter mentioned some of the things happening in our land right now, all in the name of empires and religion. And oftentimes the two coming together. And again, I look at Good Friday and I hear Jesus saying that I am in solidarity with the victims of religious extremism. I am in solidarity with those occupied, with those feeling the yoke of empire. I am in solidarity, not in words or in sending statements, but to the extent of dying on the cross with you and opening a gate for salvation. And to me, that's probably the most profound meaning of Good Friday, God in solidarity with us. You know, the question, the philosophical question, where is God in the midst of suffering, or why does God allow this? And I always say the only solution, the solution I find in scripture to this question, where is God when we suffer, that's to me at least most satisfying, is that he suffers with us. He is Emmanuel, God with us, not in the sense that he's in my heart, or yes, he is, but even beyond that, he is in solidarity with those under oppression. And in Palestine, we're used to saying that Good Friday is too long. It's been a long Friday and Saturday, but we're sure that Sunday will come. It's amazing the change in atmosphere in our churches between Friday and Sunday. That we represent through our liturgical symbolism, music, preaching, and so on. And Sunday is the day of celebration. And someday we celebrate life. Sunday is a day of hope. And to me, the resurrection is all about hope. Because the resurrection reminds us that death, evil, injustice, religious extremism, the empire, all of those do not have the final word. Evil and injustice and extremism cannot be the last word. If Christ remained in the tomb, then yes, Caesar would have won, Pilate would have won, the religious leaders would have won, this whole thinking of pure and impure would have won, the segregation system, the Sharia law, as we call it, the law would have won, extremism, the oppressor and injustice would have won, the power, sword, and money would have won if Jesus remained in the tomb. But the tomb is empty, and this gives us hope that life will overcome death, that light will overcome darkness, that good will overcome evil. This is what the empty tomb is all about. The empty tomb is a reminder that the final word is for God, for the God of justice, the God of hope, the God of love and mercy. And of course, there can be no Sunday without Friday. We want to rush on Friday. But Friday is the path to this victory. And so as we endure and as we continue to witness in the midst of our suffering, our witness in our land, we are always hopeful, not because we are positive thinkers or because we're optimistic, but because of the empty tomb. That is our assurance that things will become better one day, and as such, we go on. For those who know our land, our context, I'm sure you see how relevant Easter is for us, how relevant these stories are. Because I feel, the context didn't change much, sadly and ironically. The empire and the religious institution that I talked about are still strong and alive in our region, everywhere, by the way, but so much in our region. Religion and politics. maybe, they still come together. They still use one another, benefit one another, exploiting people for their own advancement, manipulating facts or truths for their own gain. And I can bring many examples today on this merge between faith and politics. And we might want to point to other religions and how they have religious states, for example, and that's fair. But let's look at our own traditions. Throughout history, the church has always been tempted to use power or to merge with power. Even in the last few years, how many wars were, supported by the church? I look at our land. The tragedy of Palestinian has been justified by the Bible. The Second Gulf War has been supported by Christians in the West, which, we're still suffering from it in the Middle East. There are still those who are using the Bible and religion to give legitimacy to oppression. So these things are very relevant to us. And the fact that Jesus challenges these two things, especially in the last week, challenges them, then becomes a victim of these two things. And in this process is in full solidarity with the victims of injustice, with the victims of the religious institution and empire. So powerful. And finally, the fact that he overcomes all of this and gives us hope of a better world, hope of a just world, hope of life, is so important. It's so important. Needed, so much needed in our land, especially these days. The resurrection gives us a message of hope and resilience. Resilience is a word we use to talk about our experience today as Palestinians and as Palestinian Christians. I like a different word, stubbornness. We're stubborn people. We still hold strong to these truths that we learn in the Bible, and as such, we want to continue to keep the witness. And the resurrection is a much needed hope that again empowers and encourages us. So this is Easter in a nutshell in 20-25 minutes or maybe less. Those who have visited our church in the past know that when we have visitors, I summarize my sermons in 2 minutes. So this was a summary of the whole Holy Week sermons in 20 minutes. I think that's fair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assis Munther. This is especially helpful.
Thank you. I think he's excellent. And if you would like to hear more, there's 2 postings on my Facebook page. They have clips of things that he said yesterday that I recorded. So, and some of the postings are, you could see what he was saying and read it. So be sure and check out my Facebook page if you would like to hear more from him. And he's even more poignant, I think, this year than last year. But what are your thoughts? Let's have a time of discussion as we always do at Wedgwood on his message.
Well,
Bravo.
yeah, it was very good.
It amazed me, and I hadn't put all the dots together, of how things haven't changed, how 2,000 years ago, politics, he calls it the empire and religion. And what are we dealing with now in this country? The clash of the empire or the connection of religion and the empire. It's it's just, I don't know, it's shocking when you finally put that together and realize how long this has gone on.
Well, and I think it's so interesting too, because there's this narrative that I feel like the empirical West wants to present as far as Palestine being basically an exclusive Muslim area and Israel being an exclusive Jewish area. And that's not even remotely true, but that's a narrative that's being sold by religious extremists. I mean, our speaker is a Palestinian Christian, and there are many Palestinian Jewish people who are suffering. And so
Yes.
this narrative that is being attempted to being sold is just so false. It's so false. And the line of, my God, why have you forsaken me was just so powerful. So powerful.
I guess people are saying that today.
Bad enough when empire and religion are feuding, but when they come together, it's terrible.
Well, and a lot of Christian Zionist extremists, of course, I consider all Zionists to be extremists, but if you actually look at why they support Zionism, it's essentially to bring about the end times, because they're following the books of Revelation, which is also just a horrifying thought. But people don't want to read into that. People don't want to dig deeper.
When I was listening yesterday, you could see people signing in, and people were listening from all over the world, everywhere. And just, it was constant showing who was listening. And at the end, Reverend Munther, he thanked everyone for being there and joining in the service with them. And he said, I especially want to thank those of you who signed in and indicated that you are Jewish, that we appreciate all of you so much, but we know the courage that is taking for some of you. And many had signed in to listen to the service and indicated that I'm Jewish and I'm thrilled to be here. So it was just a mix of all faiths who were listening. And when I went to the Ramadan event last week, that's what I get very emotional about things. And sitting there at a table, knowing that there was an atheist sitting there, Muslims sitting there, Jewish people sitting there, Christian people sitting there, and there we were all, and I think I said this last week, dining together, breaking bread together, and laughing and and we all hugged when we left. And it's just amazing when we come together what we can do.
Yes.
If we could stop fighting, as Liz said.
Why do you have to say who you are? Like, oh, I'm Ashanti, I'm Jewish, I'm so and so, and I'm that. Why don't you just say I'm Ashanti? Why do you have to put another?
Well, I think in that case, because of Israel, that they were indicating that they are supporting Palestine.
I see.
Struck by his phrase where he said, without Friday, Sunday couldn't happen.
Yeah.
So, and you can I can interpret that real broadly as saying, you have to go through the misery before the redemption in religious terms. But, I wonder if that's what we're going through now. And if the misery that's being faced, is going to lead to hope. I hope he's right about that.
Yeah.
But I guess that's a tenet of the religion. There's an African saying that's pretty similar with, if you haven't been through the fire, you can't shine the light.
Well, Martin Luther King said something similar too about being in the valley.
Yeah.
Before going to the mountaintop. But then it scares me because when I also listen to him and realize, has their Friday lasted for 2,000 years? How long? But we all have to hope and keep that hope that Sunday's coming.
Yes, ma'am.
Other responses? All right, then, Ashanti.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Each and every spring, all of creation seems to come alive. A time of hope, renewal, and rebirth, energizing our faith in the future regardless of how religious we are. So rejoice, friends and family. Unburden yourself if possible. Never let life's inevitable problems distract you from the beauty around us. And may genuine joy come to you and yours on this day. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so. Now go in peace.
Thank you.